This is going to be an introduction to 3D layers within After Effects. With 3D layers, you can bring your artwork into a new dimension. Puns aside, what we're looking to do is to make our workflows a little easier and at the same time upping visually what we can do. Import a butterfly, file, import file. I'm going to use butterfly number 2. Make sure this is unchecked. Otherwise, it'll import all 3 butterflies. You're importing this as a composition. Retain layer sizes. Click on import. And if the screen comes up, make sure it says composition and layer size. Double click the butterfly to composition. We're going to have to make this composition bigger in a few moments, and you'll see why. Let's get into the 3D layers. You need this icon checked that expands and shows the switch pane, which is this one. Without it checked, you're not going to see the 3D cubes. With it checked, check each of these cubes to change a layer into a 3D layer. Click, 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 click. Now, we're not seeing anything 3D yet. We will shortly. As soon as that, I clicked on one of the wings, and now you see this 3D gizmo. As you roll over this gizmo, you'll see the axis change. Up and down is the y-axis. Left and right is the x-axis. And facing us in the viewport, into and out of the viewport, is the z-axis. The arrowheads are for moving. When you see a circle, as I roll over this, you can see a circle extends that way. That's for orbiting, rotating. You can pick an axis to rotate across. The circles are also for rotating, grabbing and rotating. And the boxes are for scaling along an axis. To make the butterfly's wings flap, I need to move the pivot point towards the center of the body. Pick up the pan behind, also known as the anchor point tool, and drag the anchor point somewhere around there. Seems good. It's not exactly center, it's left of center. I'm going to do the same thing up here. For this wing, select it. I still have the anchor point tool selected over there. And click in the center and just drag that gizmo. If snapping gets in the way, turn off snapping. Just drag it over. Now pick up the move tool because you don't want the anchor point tool to accidentally move your pivot points. To get rotation going, click on the left wing layer. Press the R key. We're going to be animating the orientation. I'm at frame 0. With this layer selected, I'm going to just roll over this gizmo until I see the full orbital circle for the y-axis appear. And I know it's the y-axis because the cursor changes into a y. I'm going to drag it backwards. And as I drag it backwards, you can see the amount of degrees it's being dragged. I'm thinking good 45 degrees backwards, or maybe 40 degrees backwards is good enough. Click on the stopwatch for orientation, and that puts our first keyframe here. I'll go to 2 seconds in, which is 60 frames, and I'll add a key there. So every 2 seconds will be a wings beat. I'll now go to 1 second in between the wings beat, and I'll rotate this wing towards us. Wait to see the y-axis, and you'll see this green circle appear. Click and drag, and I'm going to drag this to about 320 degrees. And I'm looking in the orientation. If I didn't exactly get 320, I'll just click in here and type 320. Here's our wing beat so far. Looks a little stiff. We'll fix that in a moment. Let's get it looping. So this is 40 degrees, 320, and back to 40 degrees. Just remember those numbers. To get it to loop, click the Option key or Alt key and click on the stopwatch. Loop out. And the type of loop out quotes cycle. And now one wing will continuously beat, but it's that sharp mechanical beat, which maybe is your art style, and that's cool. If I want something a little smoother, with all 3 keys selected, and if I didn't have them selected, draw a marquee selection around them, and you know they're selected because they're in blue. Right click, select Keyframe Assistance, Easy Ease. Now watch the wings beat. A lot smoother now. Okay, we did that for one wing. Let's do the same thing for the other wing. Scroll a little bit down, open up wing right. Press R for rotation. We're only interested in rotation. The wings will be matching. Let me start dragging, see what numbers I'm going to be dealing with. I think the number will be 320. I'll see. Roll over until you see the y-axis and drag that wing backwards. Looking at the numbers, sure enough, it's going to be 320 or very close to it. Let me type in 320. Since the wing is on the opposite side, its numbers will be flipped. So this one's 40 degrees, this one's 320 degrees. Let me click on the orientation right there, the stopwatch, to put the first key. I'll go to 2 seconds out, which is 60 frames. I'll click here to place a key right on the timeline. I'll now go back to 1 second out, 30 frames. And I know the orientation should be 40. That's just the math that we figured out. But I'll start to visualize it by rotating. There it is. You click on that green circle and drag it forward. And I'll type in 40. And here's the wings. The one on the right doesn't have the easing applied to it yet, nor does it have the loop out. Those are the last 2 things to be done. Let me loop out the wing on the right. Option click or Alt click on the stopwatch. Loop out. And in quotes, cycle. And then the final touch, select all 3 keys. Right click. Select Keyframe Assistance. Easy Ease. Now let's look at our butterfly. Now we have a butterfly flapping its wings. As the butterfly flaps its wings, it's going beyond the size of the composition. Let's increase the size of the composition. Composition settings. I need more width. Currently the width is 583 pixels. Let's just make it 700 pixels. Now we don't have to worry about our wings being clipped as it beats.